And it's always a pleasure to speak with François Heisbourg, chair of the International Institute for Strategic Studies think tank. Thank you for being with us here on France 24.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
What do you make of what is a memorandum of understanding for some, a glorified truce for others, and as Donald Trump calls it, a peace deal?
There is so much that we don't know about this agreement. The first thing is the story about the toll or the service fee. We don't know whether there is one or won't be one. We don't know whether Oman is in agreement with Tehran on this or whether Oman will follow the Americans. Trump has indicated that the tankers should leave from the southern part of the Straits of Hormuz, that is via Oman. But we don't know what the position of Oman currently is. What we don't know also is whether the memorandum includes the prospect of negotiations on ballistic missiles and on Iran's proxies. We know that there will be a discussion on nuclear affairs. That has been a staple of relations between Iran and the outside world for the last 15 years, so there's not much change there. But we really don't know what we're talking about here. And I suspect that one of the reasons we don't know is that the document may be somewhat embarrassing for the United States of America.
Yeah, the Pakistani mediators say there are still what they call pre-implementation discussions happening. So in other words, a lot could happen between now and Friday. What did you make, François Heisbourg, about the French president's attitude in that meeting we saw just a short while ago? How to handle Donald Trump today versus, say, a year ago, the last time there was a G7?
He was clearly trying to be helpful, but it also sounded as if President Trump was not interested in being helped. The fact of the matter is that if there are any mines in the Straits of Hormuz, the mines cannot be removed by the Americans. Only the Europeans have the dedicated mine hunting and mine chasing capabilities necessary to do that. So if that is a problem, and we don't know whether it actually is or not, but if it is a problem, it cannot be resolved by the Americans alone. So President Trump appearing to, how to put it, turn down the helping hand which Macron has extended. He didn't turn it down brutally. He simply said we're probably not going to need them, but another ship or two may not be a bad thing, which also happens to be true. But we're clearly not in a stage where Trump is displaying any particular eagerness to have the Europeans, and notably the French and the Brits, and their continental partners working together in the Straits of Hormuz.
Among the guest nations attending this G7 summit, you have Egypt, you have the United Arab Emirates, countries that are in the Gulf have been invited. What is going to be the United States' standing at the end of all of this?
The United States obviously hopes to recover its rather eroded positions in the Gulf. The United States demonstrated it was not capable of assuring the protection of the Gulf monarchies, and Trump will try very hard to bring them back into the fold, to get them to continue to invest in the Abraham Accords. But if the Abraham Accords continue to appear as offering no particular protection, then it's going to be a very, very difficult task. One of the aspects which will no doubt be discussed, not necessarily by Trump, but by other participants in the G7, is whether the Gulf monarchies, and notably the United Arab Emirates, will actually release some of the Iranian funds which are currently held in the banking systems of these countries. This is there's been a lot of behind the how to put it, whispering and muttering behind the scenes, notably in the Arab Emirates, about the possibility of such a release of funds. Very important to Iran, I would add.
François Heisbourg, Donald Trump spoke with the New York Times on Sunday, and in the interview he granted, he insisted that if there wasn't a final deal, if they didn't reach a final agreement, they would restart the military attacks, and then they would make, or, I'm quoting here, make the United States the guardian of the Middle East in return for 20% of the region's revenues. So this mercantile sort of approach to regional security. What lessons should NATO be drawing from that?
It's all very bizarre because if Trump goes down that road, the next thing that happens is that the Hormuz Straits shut down again, and the midterm elections will, of course, be heavily impacted by the return to this war, which has not achieved any of its goals until now. And the Straits of Hormuz were perfectly open until this war began. And the notion that one should return to a situation in which they would continue to be blocked by a double blockade is obviously not one which is particularly appealing, notably not for the United States and for its Western economic partners.
The whole Western security partnership architecture since World War II has not been based on the U.S. charging fees for its military bases, for defense protection. With Donald Trump, is it really the end of an era, or will this too pass and will return to what was before?
It's really the end of an era. The Europeans are expecting that towards the end of the week, the Pentagon will announce the American plan for a substantial reduction of the American military presence in Europe. Figures of around 1/3 have been mentioned. So yes, it is a change of era. It's not only Trump. I mean, this is a move which began under Obama with the pivot to Asia and so on. And it'll probably not end with Trump once he ceases to be president on the 20th of January 2029. This is a groundswell, and the Europeans have basically drawn the conclusion that they have to ensure most of their defense through their own spending and their own defense investment. It's a different world.
A different world. So, François Heisbourg, one last question on this. When there's Volodymyr Zelensky speaking to the G7, including Donald Trump on Tuesday, how should the Europeans be viewing that meeting?
The Europeans will be quite happy to see that the American president will be re-engaging with President Zelensky. The Europeans will make it quite clear that nothing much can happen if the Europeans are not involved. This is also a change. And why have things changed? Well, paradoxically, because the United States no longer provides armaments to Ukraine. The only American armaments which go to Ukraine are those which have been bought by the Europeans and passed on to Ukraine. In other words, the Americans have lost leverage in the war, notably vis-à-vis Ukraine, and I'm not sure that they have increased their leverage towards Mr. Putin, notwithstanding the friendly telephone conversation between Trump and Putin yesterday, which lasted rather longer than the one which had taken place between Trump and Zelensky. So there may be some movement in Europe's favor on the Ukraine account at this G7, but don't expect anything much to happen in practical terms in 2026. President Putin is clearly not, doesn't consider that he finds it necessary to enter into a negotiation on the basis of a compromise proposal. That time has not yet come. It may come down the road, but we're not there yet.
And we'll be going to Kyiv later in this edition. François Heisbourg, so many thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.